Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the BFNL Netball Show for another week, a historic edition of the BFNL Netball Show as we farewell our old mate here, Matt Wiltshire's last ever appearance on the Netball Show. Well, we're hoping it's not your last ever, but last in the capacity as co-host. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Big week. How you feeling?
Yeah, it's an interesting feeling. It's exciting, but disappointing at the same time. So we'll see how we go. But I'll have to make the most of this last show, I suppose.
We're not going to get teary on us, are you, mate?
No, definitely not, mate. I don't think I'm an emotional person at the best of times.
I am, so I might well up before we're finished. But joining us as well today is the heir apparent to Matt's co-host seat. She is the new AFL Goldfields netball coordinator and office manager here at Saxon House. We welcome back to the AFL Goldfields team, Rhiannon Banner. Welcome back, Banner.
Hey, Sean. It's good to be here.
It's just good to see you're excited about it as well. Just get up and about.
Yeah, up and about.
Absolutely pumped to see Banner. If she keeps this up, I'm throwing Banner canning before too long.
Yeah, good.
That needs to get another run.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Rhiannon. Great to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the last 6 months of netball for you since we last saw you, because obviously you're still playing at Sebas this year. You're numero uno up there at the moment. You're the captain at Sebas, but you've also spent your summer playing with the ACU Sovereigns in the Victorian Netball League. How have you found that?
Yeah, it's really good. A lot different to playing down at Sebas, I can tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different game. Playing inside, and you don't have all that weather factor from being outside, and every team is so strong, and every player on the court is so much stronger than it is out here. So, it's been good getting used to it, but yeah, enjoying it.
Very good. Well, let's jump straight into this because we've got a tiered show today. We're going to look after our old mate here, and we're going to have a look at last week's results. We've got some interviews from a couple of players from last week's games. And then we're actually going to Nick Banner off later on. We're going to bring in AFL Goldfields netball manager Kim Bailey to have a look at this week's games and help us join in this celebration of our great friend here, Matt Wiltshire. Speaking of which, Banner's the heir apparent as the co-host, but we saw the video last week. Matt Short, of course, Australian under-19 cricketer, throw in his application. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah, he's pretty impressed with himself as well. I don't think he knew it was going on the show, but once I was there, he gave me the call up, and I think he's waiting for a call from yourself, mate, to ask him to come in and be the new co-host.
I've heard that as well. Did okay? Has he got rid of that mo yet?
Nah, still there.
Well, until you get rid of that mo, Shorty, don't call me, mate. I'll call you, all right? Just keep by the phone. Let's have a look at last week's games, starting with the game up at Darley Park last week. East Point 51, defeating Darley 26. Great win by East Point. They remain undefeated in season 2015. Emma Farrell, 27 goals. Lauren Dew, 24. Monica Van Dyke, their best player. For Darley, better players, Tale Bari, Demi Geary, and Holly Furahert. Good win by East Point, Maddie. Had to work hard for it. Darley were really good in the first half. There's only 4 goals of difference at half-time, but after half-time, East Point put the foot on the accelerator and just mowed it away. Yeah, good to see Darley come out firing there. Obviously, sort of with that nothing to lose sort of attitude. They knew East were going to be a tough side to beat, and they've done everything right for that first half to put themselves in a good position, but unfortunately, East Point's strength and depth just got them over the line in the end. Obviously, a very big couple of last quarters, so that Farrell-Dew combination is going to be one to watch for the year. It is, and especially Emma's getting her timing back as well after having the year off last year, obviously. Starting to get that timing back, starting to work in well with Lauren, and I'd hate to be the defender that has to play on either Emma Farrell or Lauren Dew this week, wouldn't I, Rhiannon Banner?
No, you're right.
As Sebastian Hole play East Point this week.
Yeah. This game, close, until half-time. I think maybe just with Darley, their fitness might not be up to it, and I know that you've got Lars Atkinson in the best, and she'll just run you around in circles. So I think East's fitness would have helped them a lot in this game, which would have let them power through in the second half. Yeah, going very nicely at East Point at the moment. Also going very nicely are Lake Wendouree. They're also undefeated, and they've put the scalps of last year's 2 grand finalists under their belt to start the season, defeating Melton last week 43-37. Mel Allen 24 goals, and Sasha McDonald back into the side with 19 goals for the Lakers. Chrissy James, their best player last week. Maddie Gray, 27 goals for the Bloods last week. Jacqueline Verbeek, Carly Rickman and Jess Bartlett, their better players. Solid win by Lake Wendouree, Maddie, leading all day against still a pretty strong Melton side. Yeah, Lake Wendouree looked to be returning to their former glory of the what was a couple of years ago under Sally McLean. So they're getting right back up there with some fantastic performances. You couldn't ask for a better start to the year, and knocking off Melton last week really would have let the girls know that they're going to be right in this year.
and exciting times ahead for the year, I think, for them.
Rhiannon, you've played against both of these teams already. How do you feel they're shaping up? Melton lost a bit from last year with all of the player movement, and I suppose Lakers, they're that little bit different again this year.
Yeah, I think with Melton, they're just a strange combination on the court, but it just seems to work, and it's hard to stop. All of their plays are just so different, but yeah, like I said, they all just come together and they make a great side. Lakers are just strong everywhere on the court, and I think it's just hard to stop them trying to get it down or trying to get it out. It just is such a hard game against them. So I think Melton did come back in the end, but a little bit of experience, I think, by Lakers got them over the line in this
Couple
game.
of weeks ago against Lakers, you made their defence look silly, didn't you? Because you shot 6 goals in that game.
Yeah, I did.
You've done well. Sunbury are taking on Melton South last week. Great win by Sunbury, 68-24. Didn't miss a beat. The Lions at home, 21-6 in the first quarter, and from there on in, it was all she wrote. Chloe Curran, 40 goals for Sunbury last week. Abby Healy, 21 goals as well, and Ruth Smith, 7. Better players for Sunbury: Chloe Curran, Ellie Randall, and Jamie Clark, all VNL players in there as well. Danielle Robertson, 15 goals for Melton South. Taryn Healy and Jess Bibby, they're better players. Expected this a little bit, Matty, as I get the hiccups as well. Sunbury, very, very strong, had their VNL players back in, and probably one of their strongest lineups on the weekend.
Yeah, Sunbury with their VNL players, going to be a very hard side to beat this year. A really good result for them. I didn't actually think it would be this much of a blowout. I did think Sunbury would win by about 10 or so goals, but to win by that much is fantastic and shows that they're still up as they were last year. So even though the team structure's changed around and they've lost a few players, probably lost a little bit of confidence as well, this game will really show them that they can be right in again.
It's been hard to get a read on Melton South so far, Rhiannon, and their 2 losses this year have been against the grand finals from last year, Melton and Sunbury, and they've defeated Bacchus Marsh, who have been struggling a little bit this year. So pretty hard to get a read on where they're at the moment, with, again, a reasonably different side to what we saw last year.
Yeah, I think they've lost a lot of players, and they've had a lot of their 19s come up, which is good experience, and I guess, in the future they might be a good side with these girls getting experience in a higher grade and a pretty good grade at that. So
yeah.
I think Sunbury, again, experience of playing VNL is so different to coming back into this kind of competition, as it's so much faster and it's hard for young girls to play against a really fast side. So I think that's where Melton South might have lacked off, but good on Sunbury, for getting over the line and getting a good percentage up on the ladder.
Yeah, great win by the Lions on the weekend. Speaking of great wins, here's one from the absolute top shelf on Sunday. Out at Eureka Stadium, North Ballarat City taking on Bacchus Marsh. North City started the game with 29 goals to 2 in the first quarter. They ended the game with 35 goals to 2 in the final quarter. And in the meantime, they put together a very nice body of work, 107 to 13. North City getting the chocolates. Jordan Bibby, 78 goals from 91 attempts on the weekend. She was absolutely flying. Stacey McCartan and Sarah Milton amongst North City's better players as well. Alicia Burgess, Jamie Walsh and Michaela Hawken, the better players for Bacchus Marsh. What a performance by North City. Did not stop. Jordan Bibby, 78 goals from 91 attempts. Her last 31 shots a goal all went in, including 27 out of 27 in the last quarter, Matty. Pretty good day for North City.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be lining up on Jordan Bibby anytime soon. She's in some fantastic form of her life coming off the VNL season. So she obviously learned a few things off Eloise Southby, the high performance manager, and she's bringing it back. As you do, it's not a bad coach to have. So she's brought that back into this competition, and she's just absolutely dominated. So I think this was the first full game she's played for North?
No, second. She played their round 2 game against Redan. She played the full game there. She, as most VNL players should have, missed in round 3. She played the last quarter up against Ballarat, and then came in and played the full game this weekend. Yeah,
well, she's definitely made her impact on the competition already. So fantastic job there by Jordan, also by the whole North City team. I was a bit didn't know what to expect from North City this year. Last year they were a bit disappointing. We all thought that they would be sort of up there in that top sort of 4, but didn't live up to their expectations. But this year they've come out firing. Bacchus Marsh, probably not their strongest opponents this year. They are struggling a bit with a lot of girls playing that A-grade game. Could be their 3rd game of the day. So when you are low on numbers, you've got to take that into account as well. And it's good to see that the Bacchus Marsh girls playing in that great spirit for the whole game as well. North Ballarat actually commended back a smash there, so well done to those girls on the effort that they put in, but just a phenomenal performance there by North Ballarat City.
And that's one thing the Bacchus Marsh are always going to do, Rhiannon, and you've seen that because you've played Bacchus Marsh this year. They always play the game out in the right spirit, and they always play the A-grade game whistle to whistle, no matter what the scoreline is against them. You guys beat them pretty well this year, and they still played the game out.
Yeah, it's all to them, to continue to come out every week and play 2 to 3 games is outstanding. So I think it's really good on them, and I think it's great for our competition as they're going to put a team forward even if they don't have a full team of players, and they're still going to play every week. So it's great. It's great to see.
Great to see Bacchus Marsh up and about. Now we'll name our Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week now, because pretty good time to do it. And Blind Freddie can see where this one's heading, can't you? After a 78 goal performance, it's pretty hard not to get the nod as Stockland Wendouree Player of the Week. So congratulations to Jordan Bibby from North Ballarat City. Stockland voucher $25 worth coming your way, Jordan. Don't spend it all at once either, but a well-deserved award for a great performance.
Yeah, no, fantastic award. So any girls out there wanting to win the Stockland Award, shoot 78 goals, then you're right.
Exactly right. He can say that now because he's on the way out the door. Last game for the weekend. This was a pretty good game in some pretty trying conditions. I came on the show last week and I made the big statement. I said the Ballarat are going to get the job done, and then they let me down. Only just. They were up at three-quarter time, but they couldn't get over the line against Redan. 26-23, Redan winning. Kelly Moran didn't have the greatest day in the world. 10 goals for her for Ballarat. Hayley Fiddler, 9 goals as well. Ruby Parry leading the way for Redan with 13 goals. And she was pretty quick to remind me that my tip was a little bit offline after the game, as Rubes normally does when I tip against Redan and they win.
It was a pretty ambitious tip, I think, but Ballarat have come out and gave you a bit of confidence in your tip, I suppose. So, look, it was always, I thought, going to be a good fight. I didn't think that in the end it would be that close, just giving Ballarat still sort of developing as a team, but they've come out and shown that they're out here to play. I think it would have been their first win for, I think it's been 23 games. I heard Lisa stay on Saturday night. So they do have Bacchus Marsh next week, so they could be having a few celebratory drinks after that one, but you never know. It's not over.
Let's not preempt things. That's the second segment today.
But they're showing all of the right signs early in the season, so all the best about that there. But Redan, it's a great win. Ballarat are a strong side and definitely can't be underestimated. So good to see Redan get another win on the board and just move up into the top 6.
As you can see by the scores as well, obviously a very defensive game. Redan found one on the weekend as well. Samantha Holt made her debut for Redan, who lined up this past Wednesday night for the Boroondara Express in their championship side at GK as well. So finding some good players, and her and Emma Henry, best friends growing up in Horsham, and really played well together as well. You could just see that they've been playing together a while. And at the other end of the court, Chelsea McMahon and Rachel Doverston did a fantastic job defensively as well for Ballarat. Little Michaela George didn't stop running. She's a tough nut, I can tell you that. She absolutely ran herself into the ground and gave until she could give no more. She was devastated with the result at the end of the game, which is what you like to see, Rhiannon. And somebody taking a bit of pride in their performance, taking pride in their team, and really gutted when they couldn't get over the line in a close game.
Yeah, I haven't got much to say after that, Sean. That was great.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think everyone out on that field, I almost said that field, on that court that day, would have tried their guts out. I know Ballarat were hungry for a win, and obviously Redan could get over the line. I know they've been struggling a bit in positions, but seems now like they've filled them up. But all hats off to Redan for getting over the line. But yeah, Ballarat, one to watch.
Made a key change in the last quarter. Redan, Jedda Hurd played in the first quarter in the shooting arc and did pretty well. Sat her off the second and third quarter, but then she came back on in the last quarter and they needed some shooting. Shot really, really well. Had a flat shot that worked pretty well against the wind on the day. It didn't have the high arc where the wind was going to blow the ball away, so it was really effective. Team well with Ruby Parry and ended up taking the game away from Ballarat in the final stages. And we caught up with Jedda Hurd and Ruby Parry after the game and had a bit of a chat to them about the game and about the result for the day, and about how Redan have approached what has been a pretty disjointed off-season. Welcome to the BFNL Netball Show this week with Redan shooters Jedda Hurd and Ruby Parry. Congratulations, girls. You've proved me wrong. Really good win against Ballarat, Rubes.
Yeah, thank you. It has been a really good win. It was a close game, and especially down to the last quarter, it was good. It was a good game.
Seemed that things changed a little bit in the last quarter, Jedda. You sat there watching in the second and third quarter, came back on and really made a difference in goals in the last quarter.
Oh yeah, it's alright. It was a team effort though, so I'm only down one end of the court. It takes 6 other players to do the rest.
And you're right about that. The other end of the court, where Sam Holt playing her first game for the club, Rubes, really, really good today. Teamed well with Emma Henry, someone she's known all her life, and you could just see that they played a lot together.
Yeah, I mean, she played a great game, and she really helped with the height down the court and bringing it down, and also just her knowledge at quarter time. She gave us tips and hints, and she was a really good asset to the team today.
Probably going a little bit better than what a lot of people would have thought. Obviously, not the smoothest off-season going around, with coach really not appointed until the last minute, but it's 2-2 now, and it's coming along okay when you know that you've got some permanence coming out of Sam and coming out of players like Erin Riley once the VNL season finishes.
Yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to. We're definitely building each week, and each training we're getting better and gelling as a team more, because there's a lot of new players, so it is going really well.
And Jedda, how are you finding it? Obviously, first year down at the club this year.
It's different, getting used to everyone, but it's really good.
Well, girls, thanks for joining us today. Best of luck. Well done on today's win. And best of luck next week against Lake Wendouree.
Thanks, Shawnee.
Jedda Hurd and Ruby Parry from the Redan A-grade team looking back on their win last week against Ballarat. As we mentioned before, Banner out for this segment, and we brought in probably one of the most knowledgeable people in netball in the region, let's be completely honest with you. The AFL Goldfields netball manager and, of course, Sunbury Football Club premiership coach in 2013 as well. Kim Bailey joins us. Welcome to the Netball Show for the first time this year, Kimmy.
Thanks, Shawnee.
I was going to say the first time ever, but of course that's not the case. We had several battles last year on the Netball Show that were quite interesting, and good to have you on board on our side this year, so to speak.
Yeah, it's good to be here in a different role and looking forward to a good season of netball. It's been a great start already, and it's interesting looking for things at the other side.
Obviously, before we get into this week's games, have a bit of a chat. You're like with Rhiannon, your netball summer's been pretty busy as well with coaching duties in the Division 1 side in the Victorian Netball League with the ACU Sovereigns. How have you found that in your first year at coaching at VNL level?
Loved it. Just been a great experience for me, a real eye-opener. I've been a little bit surprised. I thought I wouldn't cope with it, to tell you the truth. I wasn't sure if I was ready. So, it's been great, and I haven't felt out of my depth, although it's been a real struggle for the team. They've still had great improvement, and I'm really proud of the girls. And so many girls from the BFL are in there. I think the BFL should be very proud of what we've produced over the last few years. And I'm sure there's a really, really bright future ahead for Sovereigns.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct there. Last game coming up this week for the Championship and Division 1 sides, and of course the 19 and under team keeps going after this week because they're playing finals, which is extremely exciting for the future of Sovereigns Nation. Let's have a look at this week's games in the BFL, ladies and gentlemen, starting with the game between Bacchus Marsh and Ballarat. Batty, it was big statement time last week. I reckon it's quite rightly big statement time this week because Ballarat will win this game.
Yep, it's the bottom of the table clash, so...
You've set that up nicely, haven't you?
10th and 11th, so they'll both be obviously looking to get their first win on the board. Exciting times for both teams. I think the Ballarat will finally get that win they've been looking for the last 23 games, I think it is. So, look, it's hopefully exciting times for the Swannies there, and the club will be, hopefully they get a few down there to watch. It is down in Bacchus Marsh, so got to make the hike down for their first win if it does come off. But Bacchus Marsh are doing everything they can to get their first win there and just show them that they're not the side that you can just sort of push aside as a win. They can be competitive, and hopefully they can show that this weekend.
And look, Bacchus Marsh will use that this weekend because they'll see this as their big chance to get the win as well, get that first win for the season, then roll on from there. Ballarat, though, you just feel it's been building. That was 4 goals the other week against North City. It was 3 goals last week against Redan. 2 reasonably good sides. You just feel that they're set to go and they're set to win this game.
Yeah, look, Bacchus Marsh have a great attitude when they play netball too, and just speaking to them, although they had a really tough game against North last week, it's just the way they go about it. They're a really lovely team to play against, and look, I personally think they will struggle this week. I think Ballarat is most probably one of the most underrated teams in the competition. They've got some great stars in that team. They've got Hayley Fiddler, who has been in great form for Sovereigns. Great pickup, Michaela George in the mid-court, and Rachel Dovison in their defensive line as well.
All members of our interleague team?
Yep, they've got a fantastic lineup, and unfortunately for the Bacchus girls, I'm tipping a pretty big win here for Ballarat. Yeah,
the Shackles will come off this weekend. Ballarat will get that win, and it's one that you feel that once they get that first win, it's probably going to lead to 3 or 4 once they get that confidence, Kim, and they know how to win.
Yeah, look, they're players that do know how to win. Michaela George played RSL for us. And Rachel Doverson's a very experienced player, played for Pride back in those days, has played extensively through the RDFL too, very experienced player. And as I said, 3 of those girls are in our team to play Maryborough Castlemaine next week. So I think they're coached very well as well.
Yep. Lisa does do a great job.
Yeah, and I think they've really tried to turn their club around, and I wouldn't be surprised. I know they've had a rough start, but they sneak into finals.
There's a big call for you as well. Haven't won a game yet, and Kim's calling them in for finals, which is a fantastic call.
Sneaking in.
Look, I reckon it's half a chance too. And this next game could be one of the reasons why Lake Wendouree taking on Redan. Redan improved. They're better than what we thought they might be. They're better than advertised, I suppose, is the way to say it with Redan this year, because we came in with reasonably low expectations, going through an off-season where they lost a coach. It was a very disjointed off-season. Now they're starting to get it together on court. Samantha Holt coming into that side last week, as we said before, made a huge difference. Going to need it though against Lake Wendouree, who have shown all sorts of form this year. They've got, as we said before, they put Melton away, they put Sunbury away, last year's grand finalists in the first 4 rounds, and they're absolutely flying at the moment.
Yeah, Redan stepped up for their game last week against Ballarat, but they're going to have to step up to another whole new level against Lake Wendouree. It's Lake Wendouree have just come out absolutely flying this year, and I think Lake Wendouree along with East are the 2 teams to beat this year, and I think that Redan, just that little bit of drop that they have had, I should say. Usually the Redan Lake Wendouree one is always a really close, hard-fought battle. It's still going to be that way, but I think Lakers will get over the line by about 12 goals.
I think it's going to be the experience in the mid-court that's going to win Lakers the game here, Kim. Redan very strong in defence, especially if Samantha Holt plays. Very strong defensive duo there, as we've mentioned. Their goalers are okay. Jedda and Ruby Parry, again, 2 interleague players, and work really well together. It's just through that mid-court, though, where you feel Lakers will have the more experience in this game.
Yeah, I watched Lakers play Sunbury and I was extremely impressed by them. Even in the wet, they were very aerial and they were tenacious at the ball as well. Molly Boyle was sensational, and she just adds a little bit of grunt in there as well. They're led very well. Mel was sensational. I think they're determined to beat this year as well. If Sam does play, I'm not sure if she's going to be a regular, but if she does play, it makes their defensive line for Redan extremely powerful with Emma in there as well. They'll be very hard to stop. I think down the other end in the goaling area, Jedda's still very inexperienced. She's only 18, so I think her and Ruby are still working out that combination. But it should be a great game, but I think Lakers might have the edge in this one. Yeah,
Lakers for me too. I've heard a whisper about Sam Hobb. 10 games is what I've heard she's available for, especially once the VNL season finishes and they get her and Erin Riley in the same backcourt once the VNL finishes. What does Emma Henry do with herself?
Handy wing defence.
Very handy goaler as well. She came second in the Sally McLean Trophy last year, playing goals all year, so all of a sudden could be an embarrassment for Richards in a couple of weeks with Redan if they can get through this patch.
And it'd be great to see Redan bounce back, because losing their coach is always a hard thing to replace for any club. So if they could bounce back, because I think a lot of people have written them off, and don't write them off because they'll be there.
They will be there or thereabouts, there's no doubt about that one. Next game to look at, Sebastopol taking on East Point. Big game for Sebastopol, Matty, because we've talked about Sebastopol's improvement, and we would have said this if Rhiannon was here as well, that they've been one of the big improvers in the last 2 years, but they haven't taken a big scalp yet. They haven't given us reason to think of them as a finals contender or think of them as a premiership contender, because they're yet to beat those sides in that top flight above us. They're getting there. They went down by 5 against Melton a couple of weeks ago. They weren't quite at it with Lakers. If they can take this scalp, people then start sitting up and taking notice.
Yeah, no, definitely. They'll get a lot of respect out of this game. Even if they just push East Point, I think East Point are a very strong side this year. So if Sebastian can win in 5 goals, I think that's going to put a bit of doubt for other clubs when they're coming in against Sebas. So a big game for them. Also a big game against East Point. They can. This is a game where they can continue to show that they're the team to beat this year. If they can blow this game out of the water, then they're going to make a lot of people scared coming up against that side. So East Point will be looking to get their second win on the board, but I think that Sebas will be looking to get their second win on the board, but I think that East Point will come away with a pretty comfortable win.
A bit of a juxtaposition in this game as well, Kim. Obviously East Point, very experienced side, have been around together. There's not too many new players in that side, where Sebastopol quite an influx of new talent this year as well, and still taking some time to get used to each other.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time, and we've seen that with a few clubs this year where there's been some changes in personnel. I think the issue we have here with Sebas is Georgia is virtually goaling by herself at the moment. They are lacking a goal, and we've seen Banner drop into goals, and I think she's pretty excited about fronting up in the goal shooter bib again this week.
I heard she was going to ask you for the last game for Sovereigns if she could play goal shooter or goal attack, and I told her, yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that. So even though Rhiannon is a great netballer, she's not a goaler,
Yep.
and it just puts so much pressure on Georgia to do that. I just think East will be far too strong. They're flying under the radar really a little bit. No
Agreed.
one's talking much about
Yep.
them, but Emma's got them flying down there, I think, too. They're going to be another one. I'm tipping a lot of teams to make finals. It's going to be a really busy final
I was
series.
going to say, how are you going to go squeezing 9 teams into a
Squeeze them all
final
in.
series this year?
You know, they're a standout. They've got Lauren Atkinson in the guts, and she just drives so hard
Doesn't she?
through the middle, and she's a little sergeant in there. So, unfortunately for Sebas, I think it might be a little bit of pain this week again.
You mentioned Lauren Atkinson. She's obviously been a player that's played the last couple of years whilst you've been coaching against her. Looking at her this year from a different level, watching her play in the VNL and just watching her drive and the way that she just constantly runs and doesn't stop running, have you gained a new appreciation of her play watching her up close this year?
Yeah, look, when I coached Sunbury, she was always a player that we did look at and we knew we had to stop. I just think her work rate has lifted from the benefit of having maybe a different coach with Sovereigns and who's being pushed to the next level, although she's played VNL in the past, of course, but there's been a massive improvement in just her work rate, and the angles that she gets and the release of the ball is really smart, and we've seen it with Sovereigns. Her feeds into Jordan and Sinakid have been amazing. She's just a really smart player.
East Point for mine in this one as well. Interesting game coming up at Clark Oval this weekend. Sunbury taking on Melton, the grand final rematch from last year. We won't mention that too much, Kim, just because
Still haven't watched
there's still some salt in the, there's still some open wounds there, isn't there?
big time.
But Sunbury taking on Melton, Maddie, and a couple of teams. Sunbury coming off a big win last week, and Melton coming off that loss, but a close one, will still be a very interesting game.
Yeah, they've both had the 2 wins for the year so far, sitting 4th and 5th, so very evenly matched, which is good to see for the two reigning grand finalists. So it'll be a tough game for both. I'm actually really stuck on who to choose for this game. I think I'm going to go Melton just because Kim's sitting next to me.
It's probably not the great one. You're getting kicked under the table now. You realise that, don't you?
Neutral.
And probably with fair reason going into this game as well, because you look at this game and I think there's 6 players in total that played in the grand final last year. 4 on Melton's side, Jacqueline Verbeek, Jess Bartlett, Brooke Gleeson and Erin O'Brien. And on the Sunbury side, there's only Ruth Smith and Prue Stanley that played in the grand final. So whilst we say that these two teams have played each other more than any other teams over the last 2 years, it's not the case because it's completely unrecognisable teams.
Yeah, and Prue's away for the whole of May. She's off travelling. So
there's one.
There's Ruth. Look, Sunbury have, they have had a massive turnover. We knew that was going to happen while I was still coaching last year. So we did send out, and we recruited extremely well, and then I decided that I better come and work for you guys. So, But the team was set up there. But there's some absolute talent there. Chloe Curran is, I think, maybe leading the sharpshooter for VNL Div 1. So they're young. That's the difference. The experience is maybe not there like it was last year, and I think they are going to need a little bit of time to mould together. Their coach Elmo is an experienced coach, VNL coach this year. He's only seen them round 1, so it's going to take a little bit for them to settle. Melton, extremely young as well. Maddie Gray will be an absolute sensation, but but she's still a baby as well, and again they're going to take some time. So I think Sunbury will win only because I think they're just that little bit more experienced, and it's on their home court, and we know that they love Clark Oval to play at as well.
Oh, look, you took basically the words out of my mouth, and they're the exact words I wrote in the record this week. Home court and that little bit more experience. When Maddie Gray's a great player, but she's going to have 2 VNL defenders, Nellie Randall and Jamie Clark, floating very, very close to her proximity this weekend, which is going to make her life difficult at the other end of the court. Chloe Curran, aside from Jordan Bibby, is probably the informed goaler of the competition at the moment. She comes up against Carly Rickman, who has been fantastic this year, but he's also a 19 and under player as well for Melton. So it's going to be a tough challenge for Melton this weekend.
Yeah, but there's some great signs there for them.
Oh, there is.
They've lost so much talent, but they're replacing it, and clubs have to look at youth policies for their survival. And I think that's what both of these clubs have done. It just ensures that they're going to be powerhouses in the next few years.
Yeah, going to be a great game. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Last game this week on Sunday, North Ballarat City taking on Melton South at Eureka Stadium. And I don't think we're going to see a repeat of last week here, Matty, although I do think that North Ballarat City will have taken a lot of confidence from that performance.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same game as last week at all. I think Shawnee North Ballarat will have a lot more of a game on their hands, and I think Melton South, they've shown that they can push sides. I think that they'll give North Ballarat City a good go. North Ballarat City won't really know what to expect with Melton South, which hopefully plays in Melton South's hands, and they come out firing, get on top of North early, and then who knows what could happen. But I think, especially going off last week's, the top of the table, North Ballarat City will get over the line.
And that's a good point, Kim. Melton South still very much an unknown quantity. Their 3 games this year, they played Bacchus Marsh, who they defeated well, and their 2 losses have been against Sunbury and Melton, 2 last year's grand finalists. So we still haven't really gleaned too much from exactly where Melton South is sitting, because they haven't played those teams around them on the ladder yet.
Yeah, I'm not too sure of their lineups, to tell you the truth, this year. I don't know if they're... I know they have lost a couple of their players, and they've lost their coach. So again, another team that's has struggled, and we'll see how they go this week. It'll be really interesting. Jordan's Bibby's performance last week was exceptional. To shoot, I think it was 73 goals. 78 at 85%. That is awesome. That's just an awesome effort. And I don't care what your opposition is. To do that against anyone is just magnificent. So congratulations, Jordan. It was a great effort. Just with Mountain South, they've had a real struggle too with their 19s. The first 2 rounds they didn't get a 19s team up, and it's fantastic to see the work they've done down there, and congratulations to Jedda, the coordinator at Melton South, for getting their 19s up and having them on the ground as well now. Yeah,
great to see the future of Melton South Football Netball Club coming through very nicely with that under 19s, and of course now with Melton South playing in the Riddle District Footy League and the introduction of 17 and under competitions, 15, 13s and 11s, it's really going to help strengthen that pathway for those Eastern Bloc clubs.
Yeah, and I think that's what all clubs need to do. That's succession planning, and it's really important for the future. And the Riddle District has only been running a 17s competition this year. So hopefully we'll see that planning come through from Melton and Melton South in the future. So exciting times ahead, because it's an untapped area as well. There's lots of talent down there. We just need to get clubs to get their hands on these girls. Maddie Gray is an example. I think she's under 15. She's only 15 years old. So there's some real talent, and it'd be exciting for them.
Yeah, it would be indeed. That's this week's show done and dusted. A new era in the BFNL Netball Show starts next week, and we'll start, of course, with looking at next week's interleague games. A big show of interleague next week. We're going to catch up with representatives from both of our open interleague sides throughout the week, and we'll also cast an eye over the 17 and under games. Kim, thanks for joining us this week.
My pleasure.
Looking forward to this being a much, much more regular occurrence now that we've actually got somebody that knows what they're talking about netball on the show.
We'll see.
And of course, thank you very much. Goodbye to our great friend here, Matt Wiltshire, who has been with the Netball Show since day one. It's an absolute pleasure being working with you, mate. Been sitting next to you for this last year and a half. We're going to miss you. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Thank you very much for everything you've done for netball in this town and in this region over the last 18 months. I'm trying not to.
He's going to
cry. I'm not going to cry.
I am.
Thanks for that, Shawnee. The knowledge that this guy has, as you can tell by his memory, he just wheels off everything. He just done the players that played in last year's grand final who were still playing. I wouldn't have any idea.
I'll give you a hint. I researched that for the record this week. That's how I knew it.
So, Shawnee, the media you've done, we've actually spoke about it in our netball coordinators meeting the other night. The work that this fella's done, especially in the media for netball, is fantastic. Like, we've had Win News contact me, and they're now doing a country netball report. Because of what they've seen on the netball show. So congratulations to you, Shawnee. You've done a freaking fantastic.
Hey, I'm not the one leading here. You are.
I'm just letting everyone know how much, just so they can appreciate it. Because what goes on behind the scenes, no one really knows, and the work you put in is just fantastic. So I'll miss you, bud. And thanks for having me and watching each week, guys. It's much appreciated. Good fun, and hopefully you'll give Banner the same love you give me, Shawnee.
Let's hope so as well. And I'm not going to close this show. I'm going to give it over to Matty to close off his last ever netball show. Just going to sit back and watch the great man at work.
Thanks for the heads up there, Shawnee.
Anytime, mate.
All right, I'll think
You
of
told
some
me you do
closing
your best
speech.
work when you're winging it, so here you go.
Thanks everyone for watching. It's been freaking fantastic, and happy netball days for the future. Appreciate it.
Beautiful.